have a confession to make. And that is that I am pretty sure that I was this close from getting kicked off from being a speaker here at TEDxChulalongkornU. Why? It's also because I'm pretty sure that I was one of the last speakers to turn in their script for the TEDx team to evaluate. You see, everything in TEDx has to be planned down to the T, including speaker scripts. Understandably, because they just don't want speakers to be embarrassed on the real day. So, just about a month ago, a team of lovely individuals contacted me. They told me that they would be my content curators. They would basically oversee my entire experience as a TEDx speaker. They asked to meet me so that they could discuss the contents of this very talk and oversee my script just before I was about to go on stage. Of course, I agreed, but a couple of weeks passed, and then sooner than I knew it, it was the night before I was supposed to meet my content curators. I had written a total of 2 words for my script, and those 2 words were TEDx script. So after failing to accomplish a one-night miracle, I attended this meeting, tail between my legs, confessing that I was not ready to be a TEDx speaker 2 weeks before I was due on this stage. You can imagine the mayhem that ensued. So why is it? How did it become that I had to worry a team of very lovely professional individuals and a very concerned professor? And it all boils down to this one inconvenient truth. And that is that I am a workaholic. You see, workaholics don't just actively look for activities to do. They don't just do things to the very best of their ability. No, workaholics compulsively look to work long and hard hours. What this meant was that when I signed up to be a TEDx speaker, I knew it was going to be a lot of work. But then at the same time, I looked at my schedule and I realized I had a couple of hours free. So I decided to sign up for 5 other things, thinking I could juggle 6 activities at the same time. Boy, was I wrong. So why is it that workaholics function this way? It's because if someone were to ask me, Mina, how would you get from point A to point B? Workaholics like me would most likely answer that happiness can be defined in that exhilarating feeling that you get once you achieve anything successfully. This feeling can be activated whenever I write a really well-written essay, or when I receive a really good score on an exam. Or it can be when I successfully finish writing a TEDx script in 2 weeks. So what does this mean? It means that I crave to feel successful. I would do anything to feel that I could do anything and everything if I simply put my mind to it. However, I began to fall into this trap that many people in this hall, as well as many workaholics, tend to fall into. And that is, the longer that my success defined my happiness, after a while, my level of success began to define my level of self-worth. Because my fixation on being the best all of the time attracted a lot of attention and, of course, a lot of praise, which made me even more addicted to being successful. So whenever I wasn't working, for every waking moment of every waking day, I felt that I was inadequate, that I just wasn't good enough. What makes me feel just a little bit better is that I'm not alone in this irrational need to being successful or being busy all of the time. One of my favorite writers, and also a TED speaker, Tim Urban, wrote a very interesting article about this. I decided to rename his article into a very succinct academic theory. And I'll call that theory the Pseudo magical rainbow spouting unicorn theory. So let me explain how it works. If you ask someone around my age, in my generation, Generation Y, aged around 20 to 35, to plot their level of self-worth onto a graph, our bars would look something like this. Not only that, but we would also have a sparkling castle at the top of our bars. And we ourselves would be the magical rainbow unicorn sat on top of that bars, while all of our peers just sat on the lower bars like sitting on hedges, you know. What does this mean? Of course it means that this is a generalization. Not everyone perceives themselves to be a magical rainbow unicorn, but I, for one, along with many other workaholics, fall right into that stereotype, boasting our unicorn pride from the very top of our glistening tower. And this often creates two very severe issues. One, it's a problem of anatomy. Last I checked, unfortunately, I am not a magical rainbow spouting unicorn. That means that when I take on so many jobs, and I give up sleep, and I give up food, that doesn't mean that I'm a magical unicorn and I'm able to overcome these psychological needs. It means that I wake up many, many mornings with keyboard marks on my cheeks because I fall asleep at the work table. It means that I miss a lot of important deadlines because of my anatomy, because of the simple truth that I am human. The second issue for us magical unicorns is one of denial. This means that we are so fixated that we are a magical unicorn that we forget to realize that we are actually pseudo-magical rainbow spouting unicorns. It's all in our heads. And whenever we face any failures, we all bring this blame onto ourselves, thinking that we just didn't try hard enough, rather than thinking that I signed up for too many activities, and as a human being, I just cannot overcome all of them. So stress tends to creep up on us magical rainbow spouting unicorns, or shall I say pseudo-unicorns. And not only is this stress consistent, it's also everywhere. It's pervasive throughout our entire lifestyle. And of course, it continues to build up. I, for one, fell into this cycle. I would accept a lot of responsibilities, thinking that these responsibilities would take me to happiness. What ultimately happens is that I accept too many responsibilities. What inevitably follows is a couple of failures because I just accepted too many jobs and I couldn't handle them all. Guilt ensues from these failures. And in order to redeem myself, I decide to accept even more responsibilities to make up for my past failures. And so the cycle goes. This built-up stress can result into a very real physical phenomenon, and that's called Burnout Syndrome. Burnout Syndrome is often used interchangeably with stress, but they're two very different things. Stress can actually sometimes be good for you. It's when your body decides to go on hyperdrive for a short period of time when you have to do something physically or emotionally exerting. Burnout syndrome is when your body is on hyperdrive for so long that you begin to lose this drive altogether. Meaning that there was a time when I woke up feeling like I wanted to have nothing to do with any of the things that I was so passionate about just a couple of days ago. That really scared me. And not only did my work quality begin to drop, but it also had very severe effects on my personal relationships with the people that I loved. Dinner with my family had to be planned a couple of days in advance. Leisure time with my friends? Almost unheard of. And I fell into this repetitive cycle, again, of waking up really early to brave unbelievable Bangkok traffic to get to work, leaving work to face even more unbelievable traffic, to get home, to work some more, to fall asleep, and then to repeat the cycle again. I'm sure many people in the audience can relate to this. And if you do, you know that it's a very lonely process to be in. It brings me to this conversation that I had with my parents one evening. Mina, let's go to that Japanese restaurant that you really love. Me. Why? When? Without even looking up from my phone. Tonight. Why don't we go tonight? You know, I actually have a lot of meetings tonight. I have 3 meetings, and as well, it's 2 late night calls and a brainstorming session. Mina. My mom intervenes. I can count on one hand, she said slowly, the number of hours that you've looked me in the eye and made meaningful conversation with me this week. Stunned silence, because I knew it was true. This conversation isn't unique to my family. I'm sure the parents in this hall have said something similar along those lines to their children. But for me, this conversation really struck a chord. I had an epiphany. My parents and my family and my friends are the people that I love. And they're the people that love me. Shouldn't they be the ones who could cure me from this burnout syndrome that I was feeling? Could it be that pseudo magical unicorns have been denying themselves the very remedy that could cure them from that workaholic cycle that they've been stuck in? I decided to do a little bit more research. And I stumbled upon a TED Talk by a lead psychiatrist named Kelly McGonigal. She talked about a very interesting hormone called oxytocin. It's also known as the cuddle hormone. Whenever we are feeling extremely stressed, our body releases this cuddle hormone. It primes us for intimate relationships. In other words, whenever we're feeling a lot of stress, our body is actually telling us to go hug the people that we love. I've been denying myself that natural need for a long time. I think it's important to intervene here and say that I believe that my life experiences are still quite limited. I'm sure many people in this hall have carried tenfold the amount of responsibilities that I could ever imagine having. But still, I would like to impress that I think spending time with the ones that you love is a remedy that can be used for anyone, across all ages and across all occupations. So if we were to come back and look at this diagram that I drew for myself, at first I was aiming for a lonely success, being successful alone, and it ultimately resulted in the onset of burnout. Workaholics, I urge you to see that success can be achieved with the ones you love. And with the ones you love, you will find that you have a newfound motivation. And then you would also take this motivation to improve the work that you love so dearly. I would like to almost finish with a very special message to those who aren't pseudo-magical unicorns, those who are normal, basically, but you spend a lot of time with people who are workaholics. I would like to say, on behalf of workaholics, thank you. While it may be difficult to spend time or to love people who are workaholics, please remember that you are an instrumental part to their success. If you have an opportunity to walk around the exhibition just outside that this TEDx team and my lovely team of content curators put together, you will see that there are a list of questions thought up by the speakers. My question is the question asking, what have you done for the ones that you love? It's just a simple reminder to say that alone you can strive forward. But you can strive further together with the ones that you love. Thank you very much.